We have elaborated 4 transparency rankings of 100 biggest municipalities in Slovakia, and I think it is a very strong tool for improvement of transparency level in municipalities because it shows some differences between municipalities and their transparency levels, and citizens are able to make some pressure for municipalities to improve their transparency level. And it is the truth that a lot of municipalities have very smart solutions, and national parliament and national politicians sometimes adopted these measures from municipalities. It is about best practices, and it is very easy to find some best practices in this transparency ranking. You can check the best ones, municipalities, and the reality or the practice in these municipalities, and compare this situation with your city, your town, and to make some pressure for improvement of transparency level in your municipality. We have started with this project in 2010, and firstly there wasn't a huge interest from municipalities about the project because they thought that it is not so important for citizens and so on. But before the election, a lot of people and critical politicians started to say something about the results and about the misery in transparency level in these municipalities, and mayors were upset about their results, so they announced they wanted to improve their transparency before the election, so they started to compete with other candidates, and it was a huge pressure for improvement. So the overall score in our first ranking in 2010 was less than 40%, and now 6 years later it is more than 51%. So transparency level in Slovak municipalities has increased significantly. The difference is more than 11 percentage points. I was involved only in methodology for transparency ranking, but basically it is very important to continue with this pressure because transparency ranking isn't perfect tool. It's a very strong tool, very useful tool, but it is not perfect because it is not possible to measure of corruption via this tool, because data about corruptions are hidden, of course. So you are able to measure only a will to be open for public oversight and to have some rules for decision-making process and so on. But if you have rules and if you are open, it is easier for active citizen and journalists to disclose some opaque behavior in municipality. So it is quite strong tool, but it is not perfect, as I mentioned. So it is very important to support transparency ranking with other tools. For example, in our case in Slovakia, we devote our attention to Watchdog. So we provide some small investigation of cases in municipalities, and it's an excellent example how to support transparency ranking. I give you one example. In 2013, in one Slovak region, chief of radical party, actually it was a fascist party, and he spoke about corruption and clientelism in the region, and he won the election. Paradoxically, this region was the most transparent region in our transparency ranking in these times. But 2 years later, this region lost its leadership in our ranking, and this chief of Radical Party and chairman of the region argued against our ranking, our methodology. So we decided to focus of some indicators, and we exposed that this chairman hired a lot of people from his party and from his family to the office, and he signed a lot of contracts with very close companies to his party. So it was obvious that there is a huge difference between his promises and reality. So it is one possibility how to support the ranking, and the other one is we call it anti-corruption strategy. We cooperate with several municipalities in Slovakia personally with their representatives, and we have elaborated anti-corruption strategy for the cities in 17 policy area like human resources, ethics, grants policy, access to information, and so on. And we described risks in these municipalities and suggested a recommendation for management of these risks. And the third phase of the project was connected with implementation of this recommendation. So it is very useful for municipalities and for us as well, because we were able to learn a lot about internal procedures in municipalities. And last thing is connected with support of active citizens, because there are a lot of active citizens in small towns and villages in Slovakian and in Ukrainian as well, but sometimes they are very lonely with their problems. So we decided to create some network for their cooperation. It was an online platform for their cooperation and sharing of their know-how. And on one hand, and on the other hand, we organized workshops for active citizens, journalists, local politicians as well, every year since 2004, and more than 500 participants were involved in these workshops, and they share their know-how, and it is a very useful community for public oversight in Slovak municipalities.